Hey, deserving listeners, Jorge and Anfisa. Let's watch.
I've told you what I wanted to say. Is there really no chance of us getting back together?
No.
Okay, the way he's talking, it seems as though he might already have been resigned to the fact that their relationship was over. I don't know, but there's that. There's a remote possibility that where he's coming from, well, there's a possibility he's doing this because the producers asked him and they need the closure to the story. But anyway, there's a possibility, a remote possibility that what he's doing right now is trying to preserve his image in her eyes. So that's a bad way to put it, but when I've been with clients while they are going through a breakup like this, and so let's say I have an individual client and they have a partner that they're going through a lot of tumultuous times with, and the client is telling me they don't want to be in this relationship anymore. They're done. They've been done for months, maybe years. And now is the perfect time to end the relationship because, you know, their partner actually is seeking to end the relationship. So like, hallelujah, because if I were to initiate the breakup, they might abuse me or they might spread rumors about me. But if they're breaking up with me, then I'm out of here. This is perfect. I was avoiding doing this because I was worried that they were going to take retribution on me by making up lies or something, or I don't know. And so now that they're breaking up with me, this is great. And then they will still feel somewhat compelled to act like they want to remain in the relationship just so that the other person, the abusive partner, if it comes back around, my client would be able to say to the partner, it's like, look, you know, I tried to get you back and you refused, so there we go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen that before, actually, like a handful of times, and it doesn't seem likely that that's happening here, but I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there as a possibility. And what that points to in the people that I've worked with in their lives is how insidious the abuse becomes, that even though you've been wanting to leave the relationship, you felt afraid and unsafe to do so. And then finally, when the abusive person says it's over, you still don't feel safe enough to actually walk out the door, even though they're saying, get out. You're just like, well, but maybe I need to demonstrate that I don't want to leave so that they don't get me later. Or, you know, it's that kind of thing, which is just awful to think about, right?
Bye.
I mean, that hug was very lackluster. I guess it was a gesture, but I don't know. If I were George, I'd be like, just don't bother. I mean, it hurts more to have. Let's rewatch that. It's sad. I mean, they're divorcing. They had when I watch these because on Discovery Plus, which is great, they take all the clips from all the seasons and they put it into one show. So normally, like when I would watch Darcy and Stacy or Darcy in the beginning, when I went back to Jesse and Tom, I would have to go back to that season and then wade through the whole episode until I found the clip with Darcy in it. With this, it's all just compiled together, and there might even be little bits that are edited out. I'm not quite sure, to kind of make it a little tighter, a little faster. But the thing that I don't benefit from is any sort of timeline. Like, have I watched essentially 3 or 4 seasons of material spanning many years? Because, you know, there was the 90-day portion, then they get married, then they've been or have I only seen 2 seasons or so? I don't know. But at the very least, it's sad that they're breaking up. But I just want to take a look at this hug again.
Bye.
I mean, she did smile. I didn't notice that the first time. She was polite and affectionate with her face, and maybe she's not a big hugger. And she didn't seem that way even when they were together. He seemed like a more hugger, and she was more of a allow herself to be hugged kind of a thing. So maybe that's her version of hugging people, which is fine.
It's never going to work because George thinks he's right and he didn't do anything wrong.
Why did the camera have to go down? I mean, was it just a mistake from the cameras? The reason why I'm pointing out the hugging thing is because I'm a hugger, and when I hug people and they don't hug me back, at least kind of in the direction of the firmness of my hugging, it hurts my feelings, honestly. It feels like, so you don't want to hug me or something? Now, it depends on the situation. You know, some people are, and I'm talking about like close people in my life. If, for example, I were to hug someone at graduation, it was a student of mine, I actually wouldn't hug them firmly. So just while I'm on this topic, when we have graduation back before the pandemic, but although we did have our last graduation was in person, but anyway, we had 2 graduations that were over Zoom, which sucked. I have to tell you, like it's weird how much of a thing depends on being in a physical space with other people. Of course, that makes sense, but teaching, graduation, all this. So anyway, at normal graduation, the professors line up or at least they did before when there were not as many of us at my university. But anyway, they say the name, the student comes across the stage, they go to the president, and there's a picture with a diploma. And by the way, I like our president or our provost, or I can't remember what, they keep changing the name. The president, provost, chancellor, there's all these different names for the head of our campus. Anyway, his name is Ben, or at least it was last time I knew. Good guy. But anyway, it always is it kind of irks me. I don't know if I've ever put this into words, that when our students would get their diploma, they'd get it from someone that they've never met and they didn't even know worked at the university. If that student had ran into our president at the grocery store, they wouldn't even recognize each other, because the president is involved in much more non-student related things, or not. I mean, our university is all about students, but the president rarely has face-to-face contact, even in a large forum with the students. So it would make more sense that the diploma would be given by someone in the program, a professor, right? I would think everyone would win. And in fact, if I were the president, I'd be like, I don't want to do this. I mean, it's kind of nice, but it's hundreds of people that I don't even. And so when you get that official photograph of you with your diploma, and you frame it, it's just like you with some rando that you don't even know and never will know. I mean, maybe some of the students know him, but I don't think a lot do. And instead, you could have maybe you could pick your favorite professor and they could hand you a diploma, or your parent could hand you a diploma or something, So, in fact, just while I'm on that topic, I grew up Christian, and in my hippie 70s church, non-denominational church, they actually would have someone else baptize people. It could be anybody. It could be the minister if you wanted it to be. But for example, when I got baptized when I was 7 or 8 years old, it was my dad. My dad baptized me. And so that was, in Lake Sammamish, by the way, at the state park, if you're familiar with Issaquah. My point is that when the president is giving the diploma and the student is coming across the stage, we're waiting there in kind of a line, and the students will kind of pick out different professors that they know and or like, and will hug them. And so they'll selectively hug particular professors. And as a professor, I'm always like, I don't want anyone to feel sort of obligated to hug me, 1. And 2, I always have this slight paranoia that literally no one's going to hug me. And not that I need to be hugged, but some recognition, like, am I liked as a professor? That's just my paranoia. But anyway, in those situations, when I hug, it's very, very light because, we're on stage. I'm not, although occasionally a student will really just bear hug me and I will back, but I wouldn't. So there's that. But when I'm hugging someone close to me, a friend or a family member or something, and you hug them, and there's kind of a limp response, it's one, hurts my feelings, and two, it's very unsatisfying. It's like like when you're trying to really shake someone's hand and it doesn't feel complete. It feels like what's that one subreddit, mildly infuriating, or there's another one that's more specific to this. It's sort of like incomplete, or I don't know what it was, but it's that kind of a thing, Like an example is when people are constructing like a wall out of bricks and everything looks totally perfect, everything's in alignment, and then the last brick looks a little askew. I don't know, does that get to you? It gets to me. That's what a limp hug feels like to me. It's like, you gotta complete it. Or I know a better example is when you're trying to high five someone and you get it, but it's not very complete. That's like an itch that needs to, I need that. I'll say, no, let's really. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Let's talk about being a problem solver. Whenever we have a problem in our lives, we go through different stages of change. In the pre-contemplative stage, we're not even ready to acknowledge the problem. When we finally manage to recognize the issue, we enter the contemplative stage. In this stage, we know we have a problem, but we're not ready to take action. We're contemplating what action to take and whether or not to take action at all. For some people, they can remain in the contemplative stage for years, never taking action to improve their life. I'm guessing that some of you are in this stage regarding going to therapy. You've acknowledged that you probably need therapy, but for whatever reason, you haven't taken action yet. Well, as I always say, we all need therapy from time to time, and we all deserve therapy. One way to easily get therapy is through BetterHelp. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and/or even live chat sessions with your therapist. So, when you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Kirk.
I worry about my status because I want to stay here in the US. I like life in America, but I don't want to stay married to George because I gave him many chances before, and now I'm just over it.
It's been a long journey, but I'm trying to figure out chances for what? I'm trying to remember. He's done some things. He didn't stick up for you when you were talking to his sister. Okay, that's understandable that you're upset about that. Oh, well, of course, he lied straight up to her face like 1,000 times about how much money he had, and in fact, he's in a lot of debt. So there's that, which is obviously upsetting. But when we match that up to what she did to him, right? I mean, just keying his car alone, I think, circumvents those kinds of things. So, yeah. I mean, when I hear people talk like this, one, I'm like, did I miss something? Are the audience members yelling at me right now on YouTube going like, you don't remember? And, I'm not listing everything that he did, of course, because it's not off the top of my head. I've been watching this over a few months, or a number of months. But so that's one thought I have. I'm like, oh crap, and then I have to sort of say it out loud to make sure I'm not like missing something, because I don't want to upset people watching. Because sometimes when I miss something, it's upsetting, which I understand. Anyway, but the other thing I think is that if that's truly how she feels, then I wonder if this is part of her relational trauma, is that she is distorted in how she sees other things. Who knows? Or did things happen behind the scenes, which I've hypothesized before, that he did do, which is pretty bad, but there's no talk of it because he doesn't reveal it and she doesn't want to bother with revealing it or something? I don't know.
I don't know how Anfisa's been doing since we've been separated, but she needs to know that she can't treat me the way that she did. She broke my heart, and I want revenge.
When he first started saying she needs to know what she did to me, I'm thinking, what does that mean? And then he literally says, I'm going to get revenge. She, deserves revenge. What? What does that mean? Tell me that doesn't mean something that I think about. I don't know. What would it, so, okay, let's predict. What would he possibly do that they would allow on the show, right? Probably trying to deny her any kind of money. Oh, get her deported, of course. That's what good old Danielle did. So I'm guessing it has something to do with that. Or outing her behavior somehow. I don't know. I'm guessing it's deportation or whatever the proper term is for that.
George asked me to come with him to see the lawyer. It's important for me to be here to support George, and I don't know if George is going to actually get a divorce, but that's what siblings are here for, to help him and push him through it and make him see it.
Yeah, so that statement by her kind of supports my hypothesis about the dynamic in their family that might go back to when they were very young, in which the siblings, or at least her, considered herself to be his protector or his mom or something, because that phrasing, right? That's what sisters are for. They're here to support. Yeah, absolutely. And siblings are here to make him see. Okay, I don't know exactly what she means by that, but it could mean that she thinks that he won't be able to see things unless she makes him see it, right? And that isn't support. That's pressuring someone to believe something that you think is true. Now, maybe you're right, so to speak, or your perspective would be shared by others, but that's not usually helpful to someone. You want to be there for them and let them explore it themselves. And as a sibling, she would have almost no real knowledge about what it's like to be in their relationship. And this is another principle for us all to follow, is that even if your sibling or your friend tells you, or you're a therapist and your client is telling you a lot about their relationship with someone, you just always have to assume that you know almost nothing. You know what they've told you and you have an idea about what that means, but you probably don't really know what that means, especially in your heart, especially if you just sort of think about it in a way that is typical, meaning you just, because the thing that I'm always doing when I'm watching this show, and I learned this being a therapist, was that as people are telling me things, I have to also sort of manually insert other stories in my mind that are probably present, but they're not telling me. You'll often hear me talk about, probably behind the scenes, there's a lot of affection, because otherwise what we're seeing doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, why are they even together? So if it's true that there is affection going on behind the scenes and it's not interesting enough to have on a TV show, or they edit it out, then it provides a more rich picture. Now, I don't know if those things are happening with my clients or people on the show, but it gives me some, perhaps a more accurate idea of what's happening. So anyway, so she thinks that she's supposed to protect him or show him the way. Now, another thing, just to catch you up, he wanted revenge, and he's talking about how he wants to make sure she doesn't get money, which is, I think, the first thing I thought of that he would do.
Money to pay an attorney?
I don't think so.
Okay. Having met Anfisa, Jean Ann and I don't really think this is going to go down very easily. We have...
That's pretty awful. So the lawyers are doing their job, which is their job. But that question from the lawyer, does she have enough money to afford an attorney? And George is like, I don't think so. It's like, well, that doesn't sound very fair, right? It's like the privileged preying on the underprivileged, knowing that even if the underprivileged case is sound, they won't be able to argue it because they won't have legal representation. I mean, just how awful is that?
I was like, oh, you want to look really stupid?
Yeah, I want to look really stupid.
Ask her what she does for a living.
Don't do anything.
It's degrading to have a wife that does a certain thing for a living.
Wow.
Okay. Remember earlier how I was saying I don't know if I'm missing things? I just realized they don't show the tell-alls in the journey thing. Why don't they show the tell-alls in the... That's part of the show. It's the last couple episodes of the season. And a lot of stuff happens. Just maybe they figure they can't pull out just those scenes, but they often will do these kinds of scenes where it's just the two of them on stage. So... do I have to go back and watch all the tell-alls? How many tell-alls were there? Ugh. I want to watch that because sometimes in the tell-alls, completely new information will come forward. And sometimes it's just people yelling at each other and showing their breasts. But the other thing we're learning is that I think he's saying that she does exotic internet work, if you will. The other thing we're learning here, I think, is that he's saying that she does pornography work on the internet. I don't want to say that for certain, but it sounds like that's what he's alluding to. And then he says that it's degrading. And what I would say is, it's only degrading if she doesn't want to do it. If she wants to do it, well, it's not even degrading if she doesn't want to do it. If she doesn't want to do it, then it's illegal and sex trafficking and all that terribleness. So if she wants to do it, then she's doing it. Now, if he didn't like it as her spouse, then that's a conversation, but it's not degrading. People can do whatever they want to, as long as they're not harming other people. What's wrong with it, right?
During the tell-all, he alluded that he said she was a stripper, and from me reading between the lines, he pretty much said that she was a hoe. What?
Oh, okay. So I thought it was online stuff, but the friend thought it was a stripper. He is saying that she is a sex worker, which is also okay. Now, if that was behind the scenes or while they were married and she didn't tell him, then that's pretty awful. That's cheating, right? But who knows what really happened? He could just be making stuff up. He did say he wants to get revenge on her, so he's hard to trust at this point.
What pissed you off at that point? Because you was hot.
I don't know. At the time, I was really mad at her, and I just wanted to hurt her image, I guess. I was just really angry inside.
Okay, so he's basically saying he lied and that it's not true. Okay.
It just built up to where I just couldn't deal with it anymore, and I just went off.
You had a breaking point, man. Everybody have a breaking point.
I said some things during the tell-all that were lies just to get under Anfisa's skin. And I don't know, I just did it with the intention of trying to hurt her.
Yikes. Yeah, a lot of people will do that, but so how do you feel about it? Do you feel terrible about yourself? Because it's one thing to do that when you're breaking up with someone or someone dumped you. It's nothing to do it on international television, right? Like, yikes. Now, again, the thing that he alluded to isn't bad. It's not immoral. It's not degrading. As long as she is doing it consensually, then what's the problem? So it'd be like him trying to hurt her by lying and saying that she has a Prius or something. And he thinks that that's degrading because no respectable human being would own a Toyota Prius. And you're like, what's wrong with a Prius? It's fine. That's essentially what he's saying. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.